E360 TV proudly presents messages of inspirational stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, with your host, Donna Guinois, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Guinois Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. The Messages of Inspirational Stories is proudly brought to you by the good guys at the 6minutewebinar.com. Our good friend, Mr. Bill Heinrich, the 7 Levels of Truth. And I'm going to share a real nicety to know with you in just a moment. But the 6-minute webinar, if you're struggling how to get your message across, whether this is my product, this is my book, whatever it might be, or if you want to create a speech or write a book, the 6-minute webinar is for you. Because a 6-minute webinar does one thing exceptionally well. It holds your client's attention for a very few minutes. It has an introduction, it's got a body, and it's got a close with a call to action. Because all of us have seen these commercials or these videos, I should say, where, you see something, you click on it, it sounds kind of interesting, and they promise a few minutes. And they go on for 20 minutes, complain about the problem. Well, you know what the problem is, or you wouldn't be there in the first place. But they drag things on. Then you get ready to click off. Are you sure you want to leave? Yeah, I'm done with you. If you want to be able to get your clear message across to your perfect client, the 6-minute webinar is for you. And as a bonus today, as you know on our show, we always offer bonuses. All you have to do is email us at inspiration@e360tv.com. You see it there on the marquee. Inspiration@e360tv.com. One of our staff members will get it, and they will get it to the proper person to give you a very quick, prompt response. Just say, tell me more about the 6-minute webinar. Also, Mr. Bill Heinrich, the 7 Levels of Truth. My goodness gracious, Bill walked away from his life for 30 years it took to make that book. He was miserable, he was unhappy, and he was looking for why. He was trying to find the reason he even lived on planet Earth or existed. I think we all can relate to that to some degree. I want to read the back portion of this top portion, share this with you if I may, because the words are so great. I don't want to degrade them or goof them up. It says, this book is for anyone seeking answers, solutions to find success in their life. Our birthright is for us to live in abundance, to enjoy love, peace, and harmony. The 7 Levels of Truth will allow you to achieve all of these results in your life. This, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the greatest books that I've ever read, and I personally endorse it. You can find it on Amazon. And if you buy it and you don't like it, you can send it back and get your money back. Okay? But this book here, it just cuts right down to the nitty-gritty. Also, too, I promised you a nicety to know kind of a deal. When I was a kid, I was in the 4th grade, and I was anemic and didn't know it. The only thing I knew as a kid was that I didn't have energy, and I get kind of lightheaded, and I told my mother that I feel funny because I didn't know how else to explain it. And mother took me to an old country doctor, and that's back when they took the the big, sharp blade, looked like broken off razor blade, and stab your finger, and you guys have had that. You know how that thing feels. And they checked the hemoglobin, and they found out that I was anemic. And my mother said, well, what we do? And this old country doctor says, there is one product that I know will work for you. And I took it as a kid, and I have taken that product throughout my adult life. Anytime and every time I feel like I got tired blood or feel a little run down, I'm 74 years of age, ladies and gentlemen. So anytime, anytime I feel, kind of old, I look for something. That product is. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not getting any penny for this. The reason I'm doing this is to benefit someone out there in TV land and also be, give these good folks a good plug too, because it's a benefit for them too. The product is called 3S Tonic. I don't know how well the camera's going to pick it up with the lights and all. 3S Tonic. They're out of Atlanta, Georgia. They're a small company. And the way I like to take when I start feeling my age, I will take 2 tablespoons, put it in a glass of water, and I'll drink it before I go to bed. And in the morning, I do the same thing. And it only takes a couple of days for you to start feeling real good. I mean, you're not going to do jumping jacks running around the house or anything, but you know what I mean. But it's really a great product. And I've used it for all of my life ever since then. And I've recommended it to other folks. So if you feel kind of tired and run down, you might want to just go to the website, 3S Tonic, take a look at it, and make the decision, see if it's right for you, because you can find it locally in stores. And I keep it in my refrigerator all the time. And whenever I don't use it every day, but when I do feel like I need a little pick-me-up, I hit the bottle. Today, we have a lady that's very near and dear to our heart, because we all love pets. This show is Pets We Love, and this lady here is a very special lady, Tanya Obrien. Let me welcome her to the stage, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, young lady, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing good. We're so thankful that a good friend of ours, Mark Green, introduced us and got her to say, hey, you need this lady on your show. And when I started reading her story, I'm going like, oh my goodness gracious. Yes, her story needs to be told. And I'm just going to let you start from the beginning about who you are, a little bit about your background, and we're just going to move forward from there, please.
All right. I am a mother of 4. My kids are aged 9 to 17. I have 2 teenage boy drivers, so my car insurance costs are through the roof. I've been married to my husband for 21 years. I served 12 years in the U.S. Navy, got out as a lieutenant commander. I am a registered nurse, and my job in the military was taking care of soldiers and sailors that were injured in Iraq and Afghanistan. So helping them recovery surgeries, and a lot of the guys we saw week after week, month after month for their rehabilitation. I was stationed in Washington, D.C. on 9/11, so I was a first responder to the Pentagon crash. I have been a nurse for 24 years now. I have my master's in nursing education, and hopefully in May, I'll be graduating with my doctorate in nursing.
Oh, my goodness gracious. It only takes me about 2 seconds to tell you everything I've done. So we're just going to move on. I won't bore you with that. But my goodness gracious, hearing all the things that she has done, I'm sitting here as host and I'm thinking, where do I start? You know what I mean? But one of the things that we love about, their show, our programs are always fitting to the topic, Pets We Love. I believe you have a service dog, don't you?
Yes. My service dog's name is Charlie. We have been paired together since December of 2019. She came from Southeastern Guide Dogs, which is actually located about 30 minutes south of where I am in Florida. They're located in Palmetto. And I actually volunteered there before I got matched with Charlie. I helped with their puppy raising services. So the puppies, when they're 8 weeks old, they go to live with a family, and they get trained in basic manners, how to behave in public, sit, stay, come, all those commands. And they live with you for about a year, and then they go back to the school for their graduate education, or their college program, as we call it. And they will get separated into either a guide dog for the blind, a service, or a military member. They also do arson and drug sniffing dogs come out of there for police and fire. And they also actually, during COVID, they had 2 COVID sniffing dogs that they trained to sniff out COVID that work in local hospitals here in Florida.
Wow. You know, when it comes to our dogs, I mean, my goodness gracious, we've said this many times on the air. Donna has, I have, Emerson has, we all have. You know, it's amazing, what dogs give us. I mean, the unconditional love. Can you imagine what a wonderful world this world would be if everyone had the heart of a dog?
It would be
I mean,
amazing.
yeah, it really would be because it's an unconditional love. It's very forgiving. Now, I want to ask you a question about the dogs. When they're born, they go, the first year is just learning how to be, a dog, and how to be house trained and mainly that sort of thing. But then they go into graduate school, and there's two questions I want to ask. First of all, is how do they determine which dogs are best fit for the blind, or a service dog for someone like that, or a drug dog or whatever? And secondly, we'll cover this a little bit later, but I want to make sure, and I don't want to forget this. Maybe I'll make a note here. Is that how did you get matched up with your dog? I want to hear that story too. But first, let's talk about how they discover the dog's traits in that regard.
Sure. They actually have a breeding program where they breed them based to have specific temperaments so that they are more adaptable to be trained as service dogs, and to make sure that they don't have any health problems that might be common to the breed. They're currently just doing Labrador retrievers of all colors. Past, they have done other breeds like Vizslas, German Shepherds, Golden Retrievers, but they have found that they've had the best results with the labs. So that's what they're currently using right now. When they go back to graduate school, all dogs start out in the Guide Dog for the Blind program. If they are maybe too people friendly or too dog distracted, where they might not be able to be completely focused like a blind person needs their guide dog to be, then they will be called career changed. And then we'll try them out in the other programs to find out the best program for that dog. There may be some dogs that don't fit in any program at all, and those are offered up for adoption. So there's currently about a year waiting list for dropout dogs.
For the dropouts, I like
They're
that.
very popular.
Oh, yeah. It's just amazing. And if you don't mind, I'd like to go into the question I got in my mind, because when you got it, was it Charlie, your dog? Is that yeah. When you got introduced to Charlie, explain, let's just say that if a person comes in off the street, because I know you work there, so you may have had a little bit more of a contact with Charlie. But let's say I walk in on the street and I need a service dog to help me with my emotions, my anxiety, and all that. How would they match me up with a dog that would fit my needs? Walk us through that path, Wood.
Sure. There is an official application process. They have an application form that you fill out on their website and send it back to them. And then once you've been approved for the program, there is a lengthy 1-hour phone interview. And they ask all kinds of questions about your lifestyle, your habits, how active are you? How much exercise do you get? Are you a couch potato, or are you a fitness fanatic? What kind of daily activities do you do that you would have the dog with you? Are you working? Are you working from home? That kind of thing. And then they specifically look for a dog that would best meet your needs. You can even request a specific gender or a specific color if you'd like, and they will do their best to accommodate you. I am much more of a couch potato, so Charlie is very mellow.
That's a sign of intelligence, being a couch potato.
So we got meshed very well. I was terrified the first time I met her. I was afraid I wouldn't bond with her, or that I would somehow mess up her training, even though I had experience, with the program from the training side of it. It was very different being on the receiving end.
I bet so. As soon as you said that, it made perfect sense. And let's roll back a little bit. How did you first, which came first, being in a desire to be in the military, or a desire to be a nurse or the medical field?
They both happened when I was very young. My father and my grandfather were both in the Navy, so I come from a military family. So that kind of seemed a natural fit for me.
Mhm.
And I think I decided around age 7 that I would make a really good nurse.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I took care of all my stuffed animals. I gave them vaccinations and bandaged them up.
Oh, yeah. That's amazing because that's one thing I love to see about kids is how they treat their baby dolls and, little girls. And I've got great grandkids, and to watch the way these little mothers,
Yeah.
treat their dolls and take care of them. And it just goes to show you that, they're developing, and that's where we need to be very positive reinforcement and be proud of them. Let your kids know you're proud of them, what they're doing, because dogs are the same way. I mean, they love to know that they did good. And so I keep getting a little bit off track, and I apologize for that. But then you decided to go into the Navy. I bet it was because Navy blood ran in your family veins, huh?
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. My
Would
father
you?
actually commissioned me when I graduated
Wow.
from high school. His father had commissioned him, so it's kind of a family tradition.
Oh, yeah, that's neat. That is really neat. It's amazing, that, I bet you got family pictures of,
Oh yeah.
oh yeah, that's precious. It really is. And when you took basic training, where'd you take basic training at?
Newport, Rhode Island. So
Newport,
Officer
Rhode Island.
Nation School. Yep.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I was there for 8 weeks
Hmm.
um, in the summer, so it was a little warm.
Oh yeah. I took basic at Fort Bragg back in the summer of 1968, and yeah, it was there was no snowstorms during that time. I can tell you that. But yeah, and from there you went to, what was your MOS? Did you automatically go into the medical field then, or?
I went into the nurse corps directly
Mhm.
from Officer Indoctrination School.
Mhm.
And my first duty station was the Naval Medical Center in Bethesda, Maryland, which is the President's
Mm,
Hospital, where all the senators
right.
and the VIPs go, as well as active duty military.
Mm.
And I was there for about 2 years. And then I got transferred over to the Army Hospital, which is actually in downtown Washington, D.C.
Mhm.
And I
Is
worked in
that
the Army.
Walter Reed?
Yeah, Walter Reed.
Yeah.
Worked
Mhm.
there for about a year and a half, and then they transferred me back to Navy Medical Center, Bethesda, just in a
Mm.
department.
Yeah. I mean, for you to start out up there at the where the senators and presidents, everybody at that hospital there, my goodness, that was a tremendous step up. I mean, you had
Yeah.
to walk in that building as a young person with a lot of pride.
Oh, yes.
And I can imagine that. And then when you get shipped down to the Army, Walter Reed, well, we're not going to talk about that, because I spent 31 years in the Army, and we were not known for Cadillac's cruise control and stereo and
Yeah.
air conditioning, okay? I served in Vietnam in 69 and 70. But my point being, you go back up there, and then eventually you say you responded to 911. You were on the ground there?
Yeah, they had some ambulance crews
Hmm.
leave from just because there were military VIPs and civilian VIPs there. So we
Hmm.
sent several response teams and did triage there at the Pentagon.
Hmm.
They ended up taking all of the patients to civilian hospitals, so none of them came back to our hospital, but we did do triage and immediate medical
Right.
treatment on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, because at triage, first thing you do, you want to evaluate the severity of each patient and, make the adjustments right there, or apply the bandages or whatever. Yeah, that's extremely important. And a lot of people who have never been in the military or been around combat do not realize that, because that is the first thing they want to do is evaluate everybody and see, okay, if this person's got a broken arm, yeah, that's serious. We're going to take care of it, but it's not nearly as serious as a chest wound, for
Yeah.
example.
Yep.
So that's the purpose of triage. And then, when did you? My son went to Afghanistan. He was on operate. He's been my son's been in the military a long time. He's been a reservist and been on active duty consistently since 2009.
Hmm.
And he's pulled multiple tours of duty in Afghanistan, Iraq. He was stationed in Kuwait with the command team. went all over the place and all that. But he was originally on Operation Enduring Freedom. I think that was the first movement into Afghanistan, if I remember correctly. Of course, he's been on several other, every mission has a different operation, and I can't remember them all, to be honest with you. He's been over there 6, 7 times. He was awarded the Bronze Star in Iraq, which I'm very proud of.
Yeah.
And he asked me what I earned in Vietnam. I said, well, good conduct medal. I behaved myself, But, because he did a lot more in the military than I did, to be honest with you. I was a radio guy in Nam and all that. But, I got to tip my hat to my son. But when did you first start? Did you go to Afghanistan first, or was it Iraq?
So I was actually attached to 2 different platforms at times during the war. I was attached to the hospital ship, the USNS Comfort, which was out of Baltimore. So I did some time on there. And then I was attached to the Fleet Hospital at Camp Lejeune.
Oh, Camp Lejeune? Yeah.
So we did training for both platforms, and we were prepared to be deployed for either platform whenever it was needed. The Comfort responded to 9/11. We went up to New York City. Originally, it was to take on casualties because the hospitals were full there, but we ended up mostly being a respite spot for firefighters and rescue crews that were coming in from all over the country to help with the rescue efforts. They stayed on the hospital ship because there was no place else for them to stay. And we gave them some medical care as well as they needed it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And how many deployments did you go to Afghanistan and Iraq?
Just the one.
Just the one, huh? Okay. How long were you there total time? Was it a year, 18 months, or?
No, it wasn't even. It was just a couple of months.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tell you, what's really amazing, ladies and gentlemen, is that when, I don't care who you are, when you leave the United States and you know that you're going into a bad area, that's when reality sets in. And every Vietnam veteran can say this. When you open up the door, we flew over on Flying Tiger Airlines. That's an old school type of airline. We came back home in 1970. I think it was Continental I flew on. But Flying Tigers is what took us to Vietnam. And, these guys, they look like they were, fresh out of the World War II museum. I am not making this up. They had the old caps on, the visor had the earphones on, and I'm thinking, are we going, it just kind of struck us all. We were all kind of laughing, because we were young. It's back when you're young and dumb, But it just struck us as funny. These guys, they were old, they probably 50, we're 18, 19, 20, and these guys, up there smoking cigarettes, talking, drinking coffee, flying the thing, and we land in there and they open up the door on that airplane. And the very first thing that every Vietnam veteran remembers, it was the smell and the heat that just hit you in the face from that humidity, because we've been in an air-conditioned plane. Right. And that's when going over, you're thinking in your mind, okay, what did I get myself into here? But the call to duty and to serve, one of the things that's amazed me about the military, we need to get back into pets. I'm going to turn this around just in 2 seconds. But the one thing that I saw was that when I was in the Army, I went to basic Fort Bragg, AIT at Fort Gordon, Georgia. Then my first permanent duty station was at Fort Riley, Kansas. And they told us what a great unit we were. We went over to Germany on our 4-1 in January and February 1969. It was real nice weather up there, living in tents out in the boonies. And then we come back and they disbanded the unit. I thought we were special. And then they come up to a guy like me and set me in a nom. But what amazes me is that all of the confusion that I saw in the military, the one thing that worried me and scared me was the fact that, hey, we get over in, some combat zone. These guys are not going to know how to do anything. Mm-hmm. But units come together Military units come together. I was stationed with MACV, with Navy, Air Force, Army, Marines. We all just came together. We just had different names on our uniform. Maybe our uniforms looked a little different. We come together, and that is the beauty in the military, and the way everything comes together is we salute Veterans Week. And of course, pets we love. I got to hear some more about Charlie. Tell me a little bit about Charlie.
She thinks she's a tiny dog. She's a 65-pound lab. She likes to sit in your lap. She thinks she's a lap dog. I said, you are not a puppy anymore. She's also very curious. She gets into things that she shouldn't sometimes because she's trying to investigate everything. But she has a real mothering instinct, both for me and for some of our other pets. We actually have more pets than we do people in my house.
That's a sign of intelligence. I'm just kidding, folks. I'm just kidding. But, you talk about your pets here. I'm looking at what the information she just sent me. She says, currently we have 2 dogs. One is, of course, it's Charlie, a service dog. Got a cat, a ferret, and 3 guinea pigs. And she says, my service dog thinks the guinea pigs are baby puppies.
Yes. She loves to give them baths. She cuddles with them. She's so cute.
Oh, yeah. My wife showed me a video this morning about 6 o'clock. I just came out of the shower. She says, oh, Jim, you got to see this. So I'm out of the shower and I'm trying to get my coffee, grab my cup of coffee, because she brought me a cup of coffee and, while I was in the shower. I looked and here's this dog. And this dog and this, I don't know if the dog was male or female. I really don't. But it was I think it was a yellow lab, or it looked like a lab. I didn't have my glasses on, so I wouldn't act in my age. But here's this dog. And there is a female deer, a little doe, comes up. And they've been buddies for years. And it shows, make a long story short, it shows the dog licking the deer on the face and all that, the deer licking the dog and all that. And the deer's got 3 of the cutest little babies you ever saw, with the little white specks on their back. And the dog, I mean, that's his kids, That's just the way they feel about it. And it just gives you a snapshot of how this world was originally created.
Yes.
Because all of us know when we see that, wow, we all love it, because it's very precious, number one. And number 2, it also solidifies something I know about animals. You work with animals. Now, I'm not a trainer, okay? So, you got to put that in the equation. You work with animals, you sit, stay, all this stuff, but you do that one special thing. And instantly they go, hey, this is the way the world was supposed to turn. They're automatically, instantly spoiled. I hadn't figured that out. Can you help me with that? That's above my pay grade. Excuse me. Have you ever experienced that with your pets? Do that one little special thing and then they're instantly spoiled.
Sometimes they're smarter than we give them credit for.
Oh, yeah.
And they can remember things that we don't think that they're going to remember. Sometimes we can get ourselves in trouble that way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because dogs, especially dogs, they're just so tuned. They read you better than anything.
Yeah.
And I've had, my favorite breed of dog is the Australian cattle dogs. I've had 3 blue healers and 1 red healer. It was my son's dog. And I love the way they would look at your face when you come in a room or something like that. And I used to play games, so I go, like I'm mad, and they look at me and they swat away. And I say, hey, how you doing? Oh, hey, okay, he's not mad. Yippee, happy time, But they're very, very good at reading, your face. And they're also, like your service dog, Charlie, service dogs in general, they're very, very good about picking up on stuff. You've heard stories of untrained dogs who are able to warn their master, hey, something's about to happen to you. Maybe your sugar level is off or something like that. And they're not even trained for it, but they have that ability to pick up on that. That just blows my mind.
They can bond really strongly with individuals.
Yeah.
And they can really get a read for your body as well as your mental health.
Oh, yeah. I tell people that it was in 20, I don't know, years not important, many years ago, I had to have a hernia repair. And I got, I'll tell you a funny story about that in a minute, how I got in trouble. Anyway, I was on strict orders, okay. Not supposed to go anywhere. Okay, fine. I understand that because I'm home, and my blue heeler range, the one that was one of the greatest dogs I ever had when I lost him. That's when I tell people it's very, very hard to dig a grave with tears in your eyes, And it just, I lost him within 48 hours. He had pneumonia. I didn't know it. But when he went down quick on me. And anyway, I'm laying there on the couch, and he comes up and he starts sniffing at my ear. And he goes down the side of my face. And he goes down the side of my body, right through my side, like he's doing a sniffing sonar mission or whatever you want to call it. And he gets right to the area where they, do the repair for the hernia. And he sniffs. And he goes down to my knee, comes back up, sniffs again in the area where I had the surgery. I'm just laying there, just watching him. And he comes back up, same way, doing the sniffing sonar on my body, upside of my face, and licks me and lays down beside me and goes to sleep, like everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And of course, I was not supposed to drive a car. And, of course, I had a standard transmission. So having the hernia on the left side, you're not going to be pushing a clutch, Yeah. So I couldn't find my keys to my vehicle. Wonder why. And so I live about a mile and a half or so up the down from an old service station. Used to be up there, a little convenience store. You stop and get gas, and it's closed now. In fact, it's been converted into a cafe now. And so I thought, I could really go for a Snickers and maybe a Gatorade. But my keys are missing, I'll say. So I looked out there. I got my Ford tractor. It's an old 53 Ford Jubilee. It's a 50th anniversary Ford tractor. I go, that'll work. So I get a 2x4 because I can't push the clutch down on the left side. I know that.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to run into anything or anything like that. So I took the board and I pushed the clutch down. I cranked it up, and I used the board, like a stick.
Yeah.
Back out of there. And I'm going down the road, and I thought, hey, this ain't too bad. I'm kind of leaned over in the seat a little bit to, kind of cushion myself. I go up there and get the Snicker bar and the Gatorade, and I'm drinking and eating it on the way back, and I was glad by the time I got home, okay? I was glad because, bouncing on that tractor, especially a mile and a half on that, it's a paved road, but it's not, a real smooth road or anything. And so then I took the Snickers and I put it into the trash can, and the Gatorade bottle, I finished it off, put it in the trash can, and go back in and lay down on the couch, and I'm resting now. I thought, that's pretty neat. And so little did I know that the neighbor who lives right down the road, who can tell you when a sparrow lands in a tree, just happened to see me. Just happened to be at the supermarket, says, oh, I saw Jim out on his tractor.
Oh, no.
So then, Elf comes home. She says, what'd you do today? Oh, nothing much. Just hung around here. Oh, is that right? And of course, they asked the question. You're going to ask me the question, put me together cheap glue, and I did, and I came apart. But let's just say I heard about that. But my point being is that when I talk about how my dog range was able to just sniff my body and see that he knew I had surgery, but he knew everything's going to be okay. He came back to lick my face and give me the blessed assurance that everything was going to be okay. That's where I was going with this long, boring story. But I share that about the tractor because people laugh at me about that. But I thought at the time it was an absolutely brilliant idea. I really did. I mean, you got to put the guy equation in there too. And Tanya, you ever heard of the 50-50-90 rule applies to men?
No.
There's a 50-50-90 rule applies to us. If a guy's got a 50-50 shot of doing something right the first time, If he doesn't listen to the wise advice of the lady in his life, be his wife, girlfriend, and ignores that, there's a 90% chance he's going to bolo it right out of the gate. Yeah, at least that's been my experience anyway. But let's talk a little bit more about, in your life, with your service dog and some of the things that your service dog maybe did that surprised you, like, wow, I didn't know you really were that in tune with me or close to me or just anything like it. Would you be kind enough to share that, please?
So based on each individual specific needs, where they are and what they're getting the service dog for, there are usually 3 to 5 basic commands that the dog is taught specifically for that person to help them in whatever situations they are. And I'd say after we'd been together about 6 months, Charlie started doing them automatically. Like, I didn't have to give her the commands.
Wow.
It's what I was feeling and what I was needing, and she would just do it on her own without me having to tell her. Yeah.
That's amazing. And it just goes to show that how much in step they are with our lives. And I've known people that, sad to say, but I've known people that having a dog in their life is the only love that they really have.
Right.
And I can't remember. The story is true. That much I do know. I think I read it and I've heard it repeated a couple of times. I think it originally showed up in Reader's Digest. So normally that's a pretty reliable source. But there was a lady who was getting up in age, and she had some few distant relatives, and she was very well to do. But they never, ever, ever came to see her. They didn't even invite her for Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner or even send her a card. They were just waiting on her to, make the big escape and cash in on the chips.
Right.
Well, what she did, she knew that giving people like that money only gives them deeper problems. It really does. It's like throwing salt on the wound, because a lot of people who would hear that out there in TV land say, you got to be kidding me. That's just like if someone's in debt and they want you to help them with funds. Well, if you give them money, that's the worst thing you can do to them, because you rob them of the dignity that they need deep down inside to work out of the situation. If you want to help them, say, listen, let's talk to whoever you owe money to. We're going to do a budget. We're going to work on this together, and give your creditor, to let them know that you're concerned about it. We're working on it. We're going to make ends meet, because your creditor wants to be paid.
Sure.
So getting back to my story, the lady decided she would make sure her beloved pet, her dog, would be taken care of like a little prince or princess, depending on, I don't remember if it's male or female dog. And then the rest of her money she used to be able to help other nonprofits, to help people. And so after she died, they came in for the reading of the will, and boy, they were upset.
I bet.
Like, how dare her? Who does she think she is? But and they would try this. They were going to file a lawsuit, and the lawyer says, "Hey, you can do anything you want to, but I mean, hey, this is the lady's last will and testament. She was sound mind. She had a heart condition or whatever." And but they were just furious. But my point being, when it comes to a dog, it doesn't matter who you are, what your status is, how much money you got in the bank. It doesn't matter what your friends are or may not have. None of that matters.
Yeah.
None of it. What matters is that they love you in your heart. And it's an unconditional love. And it's the type of love that no money can buy, nor can any thief steal. That's why it's so precious. Oh my goodness gracious. And in your experience in working with, and what's the name of the people down there in Florida? Is it
Southeastern Guide Dogs?
Southeastern Guide Dogs. They're in, let's see here. You wrote it down for me. Go ahead.
Palmetto, Florida.
Palmetto, Florida. Okay. And Have you been there and witnessed people when they come in for the first time to meet the dog and things of this nature?
Yes, it's
Share
people
some
are
of the emotions that you see
so,
there. And
a lot of them are overwhelmed. Um,
Mhm.
and some of them are, it's just so life changing for them that they feel like they have a freedom they never had before. Um,
Mm.
Either because they can now go out in public without assistance, or
Mm.
they're able to do things that they couldn't do before because they were on their own and they didn't have the resources to do them,
Mhm.
or it just gives them an independence at home to be able to help take care of themselves.
Mm.
It just makes such a difference in their lives, and people get so changed when they get to
Mm.
experience it.
Absolutely. That's really interesting because one of the guys that we've had on, a good friend of ours, you know, Joel Peterson, we call him the beard of knowledge because he's got this long gray beard. He works with Dr. Clearfield out in Reno, Nevada, and he suffered a lot from PTSD.
Mhm.
And he and Dr. Clearfield have worked on, they think it's more physical than it is mental with hormones and in the gut. And let me just put Dr. Clearfield's website up there, drclearfield.net. You can go there and take a look at it. And I was teasing Dr. Clearfield. I says, "You got anything to make me young and better looking?" And I went to an acupuncturist one time and had a sciatic problem, my sciatic nerve. If you've ever had that pain, that thing is no fun. You cannot stand, sit, or sleep comfortably. And after he worked on me a couple of times, of course, after the first time, I felt immediately relief and went on from there. And I'm glad that the VA is starting to realize that things like acupuncture and things like chiropractic are beneficial. I'm glad because when I was in the service, they were not. They were kind of like taboo. And Joel was saying that when he got down to 137 pounds and he just tripped across Dr. Clearfield, the website there, drclearfield.net, and he had an ad in a magazine. And what's weird is that Dr. Clearfield never heard of the magazine, did not write a check for an ad. And they
Right.
don't. So it was all these things that just came together. It just so happened this magazine Dr. Clearfield never heard of, didn't pay for an ad, happened to pop up in front of Joel's face, and that's why he called him. But they find that it's in the gut. You get your gut, your heart, your brain more in harmony. They find it more physical. They work with hormones and things like that. So you might want to check into that and just explore all possibilities. But like service dogs, oh my goodness gracious. You got a friend for life there. You
Oh,
really do. And when I think about dogs, I mean, I tell people, because we all know this, and you've heard it too, dogs live with us. We live with cats. Every single cat I've had has taken one look at me. Remember we talked about how dogs can read your face and they're really good at it? Cats take one look at me and go like, even little kittens, this guy's no problem. Yeah. What, day or two? No problem. Piece of cake, right? But that's their attitude. But when it comes to the animals and you think about when you suffer from PTSD, did you not?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. And I did too when I came back from Vietnam, but I didn't know it. I didn't know what anything was.
Yeah.
I just didn't. And society looked at me like, well, what's wrong with you? Why
Yeah.
don't you get with it? And the only thing you feel like saying is just get out of my face. I don't even want to talk to you,
Yeah.
And, but share with the viewers out there that someone may need a comfort dog in their life. Someone may need a service dog that's never been to war, but you know what? You can suffer from PTSD from many things. You can be in an accident, even an explosion.
Mm-hmm.
I went in for an MRI on my shoulder, and I had to push they call it the panic button, little
Oh, yes.
ball they give you. I mean, all they asked me was I claustrophobic. I told them no, and I'm not. And they give me some earplugs for the noise. Okay. Holy mother of Jesus, that thing can wake up the dead.
Yes.
And
Okay.
beep, beep. I'm going, I couldn't handle it. I just couldn't. I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah.
And going in, I thought it was kind of funny my warped sense of humor, because my arm was rubbing against the side of it.
Yeah.
It's a small tube. I thought, man, if I was a big guy, they'd have to Vaseline me up to lube me in, slide me in that thing, But when that noise went off, oh my goodness gracious. So if you folks out there in TV land, if you're ever going to have an MRI, do yourself a favor. Prepare yourself mentally for a very loud noise. It's going to be a beeping noise, like a forklift backing up, except it's really loud, like a rock concert in there. And get good earplugs and get good earphones. You're not going to be listening to music, but you need the sound protection like you're going to a firing range. Be prepared for that. All they give me is these little, foam rubber things you stick in your ears, and then, wow. Oh, it was horrible. And I don't even know where I was going with that. You, sometimes I get wound up talking, and that's why Donna's real good about, hey, Jim, let's get back on target. Okay. But, when it comes to the service dogs and the, people that suffer from PTSD and people that suffer from depression, anxiety.
Yeah. There are many different options. There are some organizations that are specifically geared toward veterans, but there are many that it doesn't matter if you're a veteran or a civilian. And it doesn't matter what kind of trauma you've had, whether it be an abusive situation, domestic violence, some kind of a car accident. It could have been the death of a family member. It doesn't have to be a time experience. There are just many. And my biggest thing is don't be afraid to ask for help. It took me a while. It took me a while because I had the mindset that, I didn't actually see anybody killed in war. I wasn't really in the war zone, so to speak. I was in a safe place most of the time. So I didn't really have a right to have PTSD. That was how I felt. And it took me a good 6 months to say, look, these symptoms are real. This is what's going on, and it's okay to ask for help.
I love you. I love you for saying that. I really do, because it's so important. I didn't know these nurses then, but I met 2 nurses who served in the Tay Ninh area there at the hospital. I was stationed in Tay Ninh, Vietnam, the Tay Ninh province. We had Cambodia to the north, west, and south. So we were in a pretty hot place. And they told me how they could take showers without needing water after treating the soldiers. Seeing the effects of the trauma in people's lives, whether it's war related or not, makes no difference. The effect it has on you, it's going to affect you. But I will share this with you. Be thankful that it does affect you. Because what kind of a person would you be if it did not affect you? Think about that. That's scary. And I'm so glad you said that, because a lot of people, they see tragedy in their life. And my mother saw a car accident one time where a car turned over and a little kid got killed, and she had nightmares from it.
Yeah.
That's PTSD, folks.
It
really is. It really, truly is. So, embrace it. Don't run from it. And no one's going to laugh at you. If anybody, looks at you like, well, you're weird, or you shouldn't be having that problem, whatever, they're not your friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Love them enough to let them go.
Yeah, love them from a distance.
There you go. There you go. And practice your Spanish. Just say el mucho, el hadioso, and el bio, as Red Fox would say. The late Red Fox would say. But reach out. Reach out for help. Don't walk that alone, because I can say that I was a Vietnam veteran. I came home, and I remember I walked into, I got to tell this story real quickly. We're almost out of time. We had our family get together. My brother-in-laws and sisters were there, mom and dad, and we're having dinner. And that's the way our welcome home was. It's very, very private like that. And we're eating, and one of my sisters looked up and says, Jim, what was it like over there? And I look up at my plate, and all the eyes are on me. And I can't handle that.
Yeah.
I can't handle that. And I know now why I couldn't, and I'm not going to go into details, because you do everything alone over there. You build these barriers up where, if someone buys a ticket, it doesn't hurt you that bad, It's just an event. You want to shove it in the back of your mind. And I got up and excused myself from the table. I couldn't say a word. I was kind of like, oh, excuse me. And I got up and walked down the hallway. I walked into my bedroom. I sat down on my bed. I'd already closed the door. I asked myself one question. Why am I not happy?
Right.
And when you think about that, there's a lot of people who are in situations in their lives. Maybe they've never put on a military uniform. So what? But they can ask themselves honestly in the privacy of their room, why am I not happy?
Yeah.
That's all. Gosh. And I know there's folks out there that say, hey, Jim, I can relate to that. We can too. We can too. We've been there. Embrace it, because you know what? That may be where you are right now, but that's not where you're going to be as you travel forward the pathway of life. Yeah. And Charlie's helped you, I don't want to say every step of the way, but he's really helped you a lot in your journey, hasn't he?
Yes. I can do things now that 3 years ago I didn't think were possible anymore.
Bless your heart. I'm glad to, I'm so proud of you. I'm glad to hear that. And, you know, I'm just thinking out there as people hear the story about Charlie and what we've talked about today, the interesting stuff she's talked about, not the boring stuff I talk about. But I imagine there's people out there thinking, wow, I'd love to have a service dog that would help me with my depression, or help me with my anxiety, or help me when I just feel like, you know, I'm scared.
Yeah. We
all get scared. I mean, if you're not, as my dad just tell me, he says, son, if you never get scared, you're either a liar or you're kind of dumb, one of the two. But it's so true, because I remember I've told the story a couple of times on the show. My wife was out in Tucson, being with her mother after she had her second stroke. We knew it's going to be a long-term recovery. And I said, Elvis, just stay with your mom. We got her a nice little apartment place out there. And I'm home. I'm by myself. Wake up 2:30 in the morning, hear this. And like, oh my gosh, somebody is taking a knife, cutting the screen wire on that back storm door, these old aluminum doors that were on the house. And the house was built in 76. I've upgraded since then. But that's what my brain told me. So I get up. I walk down the hallway, into the kitchen, into the laundry room. And that noise is still there. And my heart's up here in my throat, and I'm scared to death, you know. And so I quietly unlock the deadbolt, and I click on the light, yank open the door, and I'm like this, you know. And there's no one there. I'm thinking, my mind's been telling me somebody's here doing that. I mean, I was thinking this guy's either amped up on drugs or he don't think anybody's home. I look down his little armadillo with his claws on the bottom of that screen, that aluminum door. I opened the door and bumped him, you know. I wasn't going to go out in the backyard and start blowing armadillos away or anything like that. But I did tell him where he could go and what I thought of him and so on and so forth. So the next day, Ellen called me and she said, I told her about the story. She said, oh, I bet they were cute. I said, the word cute never came to my mind. My point being, we all can be afraid.
Yes.
And I can guarantee you, I did not have a dog at that time, but if I'd had a dog in my house at that time, I would have felt a little bit safer.
Oh, sure.
That's why I bring that, because dogs, they're there to protect you. They're there to love you. They're there to, just take care of you. And imagine Tanya, I know there's people out there that's going to see the show out in TV land, or they may share the YouTube video with their friends or whatever. And please do. But imagine they could have a real companion who loves them and cares for them. Put a price on that, huh? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, let me ask you, is there a what they charge normally, if you don't mind me asking us?
They're funded entirely by donations. Puppy raisers, all the different groups. We do fundraisers throughout the year. We do a walkathon. Some people make and sell crafts or things like that. And that's actually how the dogs get their names. If you donate $5,000, you get to name a service dog. So they come with a name already. And most people name them after somebody important in their lives, or a loved one, or, to give honor to somebody like that.
That's great.
for the person that receives the service dog.
Mhm. I've got to ask you one favor, and you could say, "Well, let me answer it after the show or whatever." That's fine. But would you be so kind as to introduce me to those folks, because I would love to have those folks
Oh
on
yeah,
the show, Pets We Love, because that is, and they could talk not only about their organization, but the value and the benefit of dogs. My goodness gracious, and share some stories, and also too, let them know that if they have a few little videos or something like that, we can plug and play those too. We'd be glad to,
sure.
and that's giving back.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
Tanya, is there anything else you'd like to say? We got about a minute and a half left. You'd like to share with the folks? I mean, we're so honored to have you here. We're so honored that Mark Green invited and introduced us, and just so glad to be here.
I just think people need to know that it's okay to advocate for yourself. You know, take a little initiative, and even though it's scary, say, I have a problem with this. I need
Mhm.
some, you know, nobody else is going to do it for you. You're
Mhm.
going to have to do it for yourself.
There you go. Just have the courage to take that first step.
Yep.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, our time is gone. We want to thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you, folks out there in TV land, for making us one of the top shows on E360 TV. We're so honored and proud. And we know the direct result of the growth that we've enjoyed has been having fantastic people on like our show, like Tanya here. Please share her inspiring story and the valuable message of how a dog can help someone that you may know that is suffering from loneliness, depression, whatever it might be. They need some love in their life. And remember that a dog will give you that unconditional love. Be sure and love yourself first, and and realize you're worthy of being loved. You really are. Love yourself first, then you can love others. And most importantly, have enough love in your life to forgive yourself for the mistakes in life and embrace the change, the new you. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Appreciate you tuning in. Thanks. Bye-bye. Thank you, Tanya, for being with us.